and Honorary Editor Sahul Amin, Honorary Treasurer Dr. Gangaram, and South Zone Representative Dr. Vishal Indla and Abhayji, and members of the Women Empowerment Committee and respected members of the South Zone and senior colleagues, friends, and dear students and other participants of the various sectors of the people. I invite you all for today's the program, Understanding of the Victims and Evolving Responses. Now I would like to invite for our Dr. Ramakrishnan sir, the President of IPS South Zone, to preside over the today's function. And I would like to invite Dr. Radhika Reddy, the Chairperson of the Women Empowerment Committee. Welcome you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
And the most dynamic, she needs no introduction, our Dr. Savita Malhotra, madam. She is national and international repute. She is a good academician and clinician. She is former Dean and HOD of prestigious Institute of Chandigarh, PGI Chandigarh. She is now the consultant, Fortis Hospital, Mahali. She is not only academician and clinician, she is active in various capacities. She worked for serving the Society of IPS South Zone. Not the least, today's our chief guest and guest speaker. She is again second time she is visiting our program. She is Padma Shri awardee, none other than Sunita Krishnan. She is the founder of Prajwala Foundation. Welcome you, madam.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Ramakrishnan sir, our president, please preside over the today's function to give his presidential remarks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suresh Kumar. Good evening to all of you. And good evening. And I thank the Samanvi team for giving me this opportunity to be with you. This Women Empower Committee is doing a human service and remarkable work since it is incepted. And today's program is again a testimony of the hard work done by our Women Empower Committee, presided by under the chairmanship of Chairperson Dr. Radhika Reddy, Smita, Indumati, and all, Nivedita, all are doing excellent work. I must congratulate them for first. When we last month we inaugurated the Samanvi program, at that time Dr. Mrs. Sunita Krishnan was our guest of honor to launch this program. Then at the time we decided that we will have a separate session to get to know how to deal with victims of sexual violence, how to go about it. And she was very much willing to give a lecture, and she told, I need at least 1.5 hours. We told yes. So there is, because she lives with them. She is living with 25,000 beneficiaries. It is not human, it is a divine, that I will say. And whether you like it or not, every day, see, today's what you call Times of India, two reports. Two convicted in separate cases for sexually abusing minors. That is today's report. Another one, 14-year-old boy held for raping 2 minor girls. This is the status of India. Where we are going, we don't know. If only 4 or 5 news comes in Times of India, you can imagine how much is prevailing in the whole of India. Is it the representative of our country? Again, the opposite is Manipur girl becomes Oxford chairman, Oxford Union chairman. That is another part of today's news. See, and a very poor girl from poor family, Dr. Zarin Khan. She is the topper of CA. See, where do we go? We are in two polar opposites and we have to make a balance. I think it is our duty to do something. Not one man or one lady cannot do all these things and people cannot do everything. So it is all unity of union of like-minded people that only is going to help us. That's my humble opinion. And I am fond of Gandhian philosophy. I don't subscribe to Gandhian philosophy. As a politician, I may that Mahatma Gandhi,
Ah,
but as a Gandhian, I am a follower of him. He is one of the most famous and which I cherish. The word is Mere Jeevan Eve Mere Sandesh. My life is my message. That's what he says. So, like that, who can be more precise and apt for this day? I think it is Sunita Krishna. She lives for what she does. So, it is a nice thing that she is going to take us for 1.5 hours about how to deal with, how to share our feelings and other things. And it may be a platform upon which we will have to develop and support Prajwala. That's what my humble suggestion. And today, you won't believe, to our mails and messages, so far 960 have registered. 960 people have registered. That it itself says how much people have supporting us. And all over India, from West Bengal, Uttarakhand, Telangana, Sikkim, Rajasthan, Goa, Haryana, UAE, UK, New Zealand, Canada, Abu Dhabi, from all over these places, people have registered for this program. And I must be proud that Tamil Nadu tops. We are from Tamil Nadu, 500 have registered. So this is what I expect. 900 people, and still many people will be watching on the other hall. So it is the good support. We have to utilize it. We have to motivate them, make them come forward to help NGOs like Prajwala, like that. And another thing I want to say, I want to share that one of my friend, Mrs. Lashmi, Anand, she is judicial magistrate. She is also joined in this meeting and she will be sharing 5 minutes of her experience after Sunita Krishna's lecture. I thank you all. I thank all the office bearers of IPS, General Secretary Dr. Suresh Kumar, Dr. Erat, Dr. Kishan, Dr. Abhay Matkar, Gangaram, all these people and our EC group have been supporting all our activities without any hesitation, without any these things, block. So I have to thank them for giving me this platform to introduce all these reforms. Thank you, madam. I now hand over the mic to Samanvi.
Thank you, sir.
Another thing I have forgotten, just about Savita Malhotra madam. I met her in Kolkata. I was talking to her about our IPS activities and Samanvi activities, and she was very much interested. I want to commit to this program and all. And when I told that, and this Sunita Krishnan and all, she was very happy to come forward to chair this session. You don't need to any introduction for Professor Madam. She is a Dian. She is one of the most desired psychiatrist in India and abroad. She is the epitome of women. Women empowerment means You can say examples like Sarda Menon, Dr. Savita Malhotra, Dr. Subhangi Parker, Dr. Lakshmi Vijay Kumar, and all Samanvi people. So many women have come up and lighted the psychiatric society. I should bow to all of you. Welcome, madam, Dr. Savita Malhotra, madam. And over to Samanvi.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it is a humbling as well as a privileged moment for me to introduce the chairperson of this program, Professor Dr. Savita Malhotra, who actually needs no introduction in among psychiatrists. She is a doyen in psychiatry, who is a leader, who's a researcher, who's a policy maker, who's an excellent teacher, and whatnot. She's a retired dean from PGI Chandigarh and currently working in Fortis Hospital, Mohali. And I would like to welcome you on behalf of Samanvi and IPS South Zone to this program, ma'am. And I don't want to delay the program much, and without prolonging my words, I would like to hand over the mic to you. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
On behalf of Samanvi, I am very much happy and privileged to give this memento to Madam Savita Malhotra. Madam, this will reach you in another 2 days. Because of online programs, I have to make this. Please accept. It is the love from Samanvi and me. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ramakrishnan. It's my great honor and privilege to be here, and I thank you very much for inviting me and having me over for this program today, which I was very keen myself to listen to and participate in. IPS South Zone, other EC members, Dr. Ramana Nerat, Dr. Suresh Kumar, Dr. Gangaram, Dr. Shahul, very much for inviting me to be a part of one of your programs. And I must say that this Women Empowerment Committee, Samanvi, which has been formed under the IPS South Zone, this is a very, very important and very, very special activity and recognition that the South Zone has imparted, and concern that they share about women empowerment. I don't think there is any parallel like this in India, that they have a women empowerment committee. There is some disturbance? Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello?
Okay, Madam. Okay, Madam.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I must congratulate IPS South Zone for thinking about women empowerment and bringing it over on a platform, giving it a place and a space for holding activities, for creating awareness, and initiating action in this regard, which is so very much needed. Dr. Sunita Krishnan, she's the founder of Prajvala, a crusader for the care of victims of sexual violence, who is very well known and has been working in this field for so many years, has received so many accolades and recognitions for working in this area. I'm myself very keen to listen to you, Ma'am Sunita Krishnan, and understand from you how the victims of this and how to make sense of what they go through in their life. I think on one hand, we say that womanhood is a bliss, and women are the cradle of life, they're cradle of humanity. They not only give birth to a child, but also impart all the values and culture and that the society needs very much, and we want that society cherishes, and we want the individual to kind of imbibe those values and culture and the woman is responsible for imparting all those to a newborn who's just a mere biological entity, and to convert it into a human being is a huge task and responsibility. We know that women are different from men. They in cognitive functions, in their affective domain, in their behavior, in their information processing. They think differently, they process information differently, they perceive things differently, and they value different things, and they emote differently. They are basically carers and nurturers. That is their innate nature, and that sustains life. But sexual abuse, violence, and exploitation is the biggest and the most heinous crime against women. And this sexual abuse not only violates her body, it wounds her psyche, it fractures. Hello? Hello?
Yes,
This screen sharing is what?
No, ma'am, continue.
You
Somebody.
are audible, madam. Please continue.
Okay. So what I was saying was that sexual abuse, it violates the body, her body, the woman's body. It wounds her psyche. It fractures her faith in humanity and society. And worst still is the societal response. Somewhere society holds the woman responsible for getting abused, violated, and exploited. They feel that the woman has not been able to protect herself, that she invited all this abuse onto her, that she deserved it, that she is not a woman. I mean, it's kind of linked with her virtuousness, that she is not virtuous because this has happened to her. And that is the biggest, I would say, shame and curse. And sexual violence is used as a tool for warfare. And this is a medieval mindset that still prevails in the society. Understanding the victim of sexual abuse requires a perspective from the point of view of the victim herself, not a third person perspective, not an outsider's perspective. Like we have perspective held by policemen, by judiciary, by men, by others. I think that it's not at all possible for them to really fathom the depth and the expanse of suffering and trauma that a woman goes through. And this is where would be enlightened today by listening to Ms. Sunita Krishnan, who has been dealing with and handling these women in large numbers for a long period of time, and understands how to kind of make sense of their broken life, broken psyche, and how to kind of help them rebuild their life, reintegrate into society, and so on. So I'm here to listen to you and learn from you. And again, thank you very much, my colleagues and friends in the IPS South Zone, for giving me this privilege. And thank you very much, the Manvi team, Dr. Indumati, Dr. Smita, Dr. Radhika Reddy, who else is there? Okay, Vedita and Preeti and so many others. And I also see in the participants list so many friends and senior colleagues. This subject and topic resonates with people, and people want to listen to the problem. Thank you very much, and over to Ms. Sunita Krishnan. I want to ask, will we have, after the completion of the talk, some question answers? Will we
yes,
have?
madam. Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And Ms. Sunita Krishnan, over to you.
And I request all of you to pin to my camera and see. This is what the Samanvi is lovingly is presenting to Sunita Krishnan. Dear Sunita, people all over the world are looking at you. Orthopedician, cardiothoracic surgeon, nurses, all are here to listen to you. This is a love from Samanvi. Please accept. Are you able to see? Are you able to see?
So I know the Tuki Kam, sir. Height, rise, sir. Rise the memento. Rise the memento.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. ரொம்ப அழகா இருக்கு. Very nice.
God bless you. That is the
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
May I start?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Very, very good evening. And may I request the admin to mute everybody's audio? I can hear dogs barking, and I can hear several other sounds too. It'll be much appreciated if audio of others, all the participants can be muted except for the panelists. Extremely.
Madam, kindly unmute, madam.
You are muted yourself.
Yeah. So, extremely honored and privileged to be part of this forum. I was honored to be participant and to be part of the inaugural ceremony of Samanvi. So that my relationship with Samanvi started there, and I found a family member in one of you all, Dr. Nivedita, who's now become a very important part of Prajvala family after the Samanvi program. So grateful for this forum to give me the gift of Dr. Nivedita for our children. In the last 1 month and so, she has revolutionized the mental health program for the most traumatized children in our shelter. And I want to thank Samanvi, and I want to thank Nivedita. I'm sure Nivedita is there in this group. I'm only now looking at my screen and not seeing anybody's face, but I want to thank. Thank you, Dr. Ramakrishna, for being the Sutradhar for connecting a whole world of good people who are now concerned about the worst form of violations that women and children go through. I will be talking about what victims of sexual violence go through and what is their journey and why do they become what they become. And I want to start by saying that my entire concentration would be on the worst form of sexual violence, that is sex trafficking of women and children. Among the entire scale of sex crimes or sexual violence any human being can go through, the world of sex trafficking is perhaps the worst form, because when you talk about sex trafficking, you're talking about one individual going through 1,000,000 times of sexual abuse and sexual assault on her for maybe weeks together, months together, years together. And I will start by their stories so that you understand the worst, and then we move on to the milder forms, so that, and because my domain in the last 25 years of establishing an organization and last 30 years of doing what I'm doing, my core competency and my domain expertise is in working with victims of sex trafficking, both women and children. Now, when we talk about human beings, when we talk about sex trafficking, I first of all want you to understand whom we are talking about. It is very easy to give a very academic speech. It's very easy to give a very theoretic understanding of what happens. And it is so easy to camouflage ourselves with words and, imagery that doesn't affect us. But once we see the face of the person whom we are talking, we get a better perspective on what exactly are we talking about. This child is 9 years old. In her 9 years, she has seen it all. She's an orphan. Let's say her name is Meenu. That's not her real name, but let's say her name is Meenu. At the age of, she's an orphan. She was brought up by her mother's sister, Mausi or Chinnamma. And she belongs to the Northeast. And at the age of 4 years, this auntie of hers kept her in a tea stall to work. The tea stall that she was running, she made this girl work there. At the age of 5, this girl was sold to a pimp. And from then, in the next 4 years, by the time she was 9, she was sold and resold in many, many places across the country. She was raped by thousands of men, beaten, tortured, sexually violated again and again every day for months and years together for 4 years. And finally, when she was 9 years, she was dumped on a highway in Hyderabad. A completely broken person in absolute psychotic depression is how we found Meenu with us. What I'm talking to you about is trafficking of human beings. Now, what is trafficking of human beings? Because the common person doesn't really understand the word trafficking, and everybody thinks trafficking means prostitution. I should tell you that trafficking is not prostitution, first of all. The definition, first of all, of trafficking came way back by United Nations. I will not get into the definition. It's too big, it's too long, it's too boring. I have kind of, made the definition smaller for you all, for you to understand what it is. The definition has only 3 parts. The definition has one part, which is the act of trafficking. The second part is the means of trafficking. And the third part is purpose of trafficking. Now, if I have to give a summary version of this definition, it just means that human beings, either by threat or by force or by coercion or by fraudulent means or by deception or by the abuse of power or a position of vulnerability, are recruited, transported, transferred, harbored, or kept in a place of exploitation. What is exploitation? Exploitation could be prostitution, need not be only prostitution. It could be forced labor. It could be slavery-like conditions. It could be servitude. It could be also organ trade. So when we talk about trafficking, what we are looking at is a whole world of people who are taken for the purposes of exploitation by the means of threat, force, coercion, fraudulent means, deception, abuse of power, like a parent selling their own daughter, or a position of vulnerability. But having said this, please understand, legally, when we talk about this, when it comes to a child, if the child is just found in any place of exploitation, it means the child is trafficked. There is no need for any means to come in. At least for an adult, we will say whether the means are there or not. But for a child, that is any person below the age of 18, if the person is just there in the place of exploitation and is being exploited, it means it is presumed legally that she is trafficked. Now, our own Indian government brought this definition in after probably 65 years of independence. While in the Constitution, Article 23 says we are opposed to trafficking in human beings, but there is no definition of trafficking that came into this country till 2013, after the Nirbhaya Kand. In 2012, when that young girl, physiotherapy student, was gang raped in Delhi, the infamous Nirbhaya gang rape in Delhi, that brought in a huge amount of legal reforms, and the criminal law was amended and a new law was brought in, which brought in a new section called as Section 370. And for the first time, today we have a definition of trafficking in the Indian Penal Code. I'm telling you all this for several reasons. You will understand all this only much later, why I am giving you the legal definition, why I am bringing this focus onto you, because this definition defines that victim in a big way. This definition also defines our responses in a big way, because when we are talking about trafficking, we're not talking about a social crime. We're not talking about one human being who had an uncontrollable libido and went and abused somebody. We're not talking about a psychologically aberrated man who saw a 5-year-old child and said, okay, I want to abuse this child. Suddenly, we are talking about an organized crime. We're talking about one whole set of people living on the sexual exploitation of women and children. Whole set of people whose entire revenue model depends on rape of women and girls. A whole set of people whose criminal enterprise is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, not just in this country. Because when we talk about trafficking, we are talking about an industry, a criminal industry that has its tentacles in over 132 countries. In our own country, we see trafficking in these forms. We have babies as young as 1 day sold in the name of adoption. We have human beings being sold in the name of organs, for kidney, for cornea, for retina. We have hundreds and thousands and millions of children sold in the name of labor, in the name of circus, in the name of beggary. We have also hundreds and thousands of young girls sold in the name of domestic work. We also have a very unfortunate pattern. Our country, Bangladesh, Pakistan, some parts of Nepal, we sell our boy children to the Middle East for a unique national sport called as camel jockey. Now, how does camel jockeying happen? It happens where the jockey is tied to the leg of the camel. Now, somebody like you or me who's above 50 kilos, we are not suitable for that form of trafficking. What is preferred is a 20 kilo person or a 15 kilo person, which is obviously a child.
Madam, see, look into your voice. People say you are not audible.
I am.
It's good, sir. No problem, sir.
Okay.
Maybe that's a bandwidth some problem with them.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Hundreds and thousands of young boys are sold in these camel races. And how does the whole modus operandi happen? The boys are tied to the leg of the camel. And when the child is tied to the leg of the camel, the child is not laughing. The child is crying. So when the child cries, the camel moves. And when the camel moves, the child cries louder and the camel moves faster. Can you imagine? There is a national sport that lives on the exploitation of little children. Hundreds and thousands of children are buried alive there, dead, under the feet of these camels. But I work on the worst form of trafficking, that is sex trafficking, where hundreds and thousands of young girls and women are bought and sold for the sole purposes of getting raped every day. And the entire revenue model depends on the rape of that individual. Only then the people around them are building their entire economy. That sex trafficking, I want to add another dimension why each one of y'all should be hearing to this. Today, you must be thinking, okay, Dr. Ramakrishna introduced me and said, we must support Prajwala. I definitely think all of you all must support, not only support Prajwala, but support Prajwala like organizations everywhere in the country. But today, let me also tell you, thanks to cyber trafficking, thanks to the online penetration of trafficking, each of you all sitting here, if you have a near and dear one who is online, you have a 13-year-old daughter, you have a 15-year-old daughter, you have a young person in your family, please understand you are also equally vulnerable and potentially at risk to be trafficked. Any young person today, thanks to cyber trafficking, there is a huge equalizer. You can't say only the poor girls are getting trafficked today. Even the middle class and the upper middle class person who is having access to an online space like you and me are having to right now is vulnerable, is at potential risk to be spotted by a predator and actually cyber trafficked for sexual exploitation. And I will tell you the kind of dimension of that form of sex trafficking and what is the impact of that. Now, what is the extent and magnitude of the problem you're talking? Why should we even talk about this problem? Is it worth spending an hour listening to this story, which is happening to a few people? Every 10 minutes, a human being is trafficked. Every year in India alone, around 3 million women and girls are sold for sex trafficking. It is an $858 billion industry. And the saddest part is 45% of those trafficked are little children. I had the unfortunate experience of sharing with you that the youngest child that I have rescued from a brothel, from prostitution, is 3 years old. So you're talking about a 3-year-old child whose body has been raped and repeatedly raped so that the revenue of somebody can be raised, and who is enslaved in a brothel. We as a country, we are a transit, a destination, and a source. What does that mean? It means that there are girls from Bangladesh, there are girls from Nepal, there are girls from, just yesterday we rescued 2 girls from Uganda, Uzbekistan, Siberia, Thailand, being trafficked to India. We also are a transit, means from Sri Lanka, from Nepal, girls are trafficked via India to Singapore, Australia, UK, and other places. But our problem, we are one of the biggest source. It is not a feather in our cap. Dr. Ramakrishna very rightly pointed out the dichotomy. At one end, there is such a lot of achievement, and there is at another end, there is so much of degradation, but no degradation, can match this degradation, where you say you are one of the largest country supplying your women and girls to be raped by hundreds and thousands of men in your own country and elsewhere. I want to be very clear. The problem in India is largely domestic. The problem within the country, interstate, interdistrict, intrastate, is far higher than from our country to other countries. But yes, 10% of the problem, we also send our girls to other countries. Now, if you have to understand trafficking and if you have to understand the victim, you need to understand her journey. What does she go through? And what is the entire flow of events that happen in her life? Why does she behave in a particular way? Why is your mental health, approach to her is not, actually having any real-time benefit, especially in a situation where it is benefiting a one-time sexually violated person, but to this person it is not working. To understand that, you need to understand what has this person gone through. Now, the journey of any victim starts definitely from an optionless situation. Now, what is optionlessness? Optionlessness could be poverty. Optionlessness also could be poverty of the mind. So it is not just economic starvation. It's not like I don't have one meal a day, that is why I'm getting sold. It is not just that. Sometimes even when you have the poverty of the mind, when you're not happy with whatever you have, what makes a a police officer take bribe, or what makes a government officer who has enough salary coming in go for a bribe? It's just when you have the poverty of the mind, when what you have is not enough, I want that, I want this, you become very vulnerable. In that vulnerable situation, it is easy to deceive you, or use some kind of fraudulent means, or to coerce you, or to force you. in the name of job, in the name of love, in the name of marriage, in the name of a better life. And most often when children are involved, it is the position of vulnerability. Do you know we have the highest number of families selling their own children, abusing the position they have in the lifestyles, and saying, okay, you're a girl child, we have 100 mouths to feed. Okay, if I have to, let go of one person, I will let you go, selling off. We have close to 65% such children whose parents are the abusers, parents are the sellers. But we also have another situation where, when we talk about cyber trafficking, where no real means, tangible means can be seen. It's emotional manipulation and grooming that is happening on online space to cheat people and fraudulently use it. Now, whenever a person is taken in, the person believes, that, wherever I'm going to reach, everything is going to be okay after that. She believes that when she reaches a destination or wherever she's being taken to, whatever the problem she had, it will be changed and, she will. It's only when she reaches the destination, she realizes this is not what I've come for. There is no nanny's job. There is no domestic work. There's no marriage. There is no film role. You have to sleep with few men a day. Now, I have rescued more than 24,000 girls in my life. I haven't met a single girl who said, or a child who said, okay, you brought me for this, it is not that I will, sleep with 15 men a day, no problem. If not this, that is, if this option is not there, I will go for that. Invariably and inevitably, the person will resist. The more you resist, more torture is inflicted on you. You are forced to believe that this is your only option. Now, many people, do not go through everything. Maybe among the 100, there will be only one person who might go through all this. But the stories of this one person will be used to break in many others. For example, this girl. They just threw acid on her face when she said, I will not do this. They just threw acid on her face. This girl was murdered inside the brothel. This picture was taken from the mobile phone of another girl. From her mobile phone, we got this picture. She said, no, I will not do this. Stories of such torture is used to coerce a person into slavery-like condition. Now, when a person is mentally and emotionally coerced into that situation, and she thinks, okay, like I'll say yes, this problem, this torture will end at this moment. What she does not realize is, when she's saying yes, she's actually saying yes to a lifetime of multiple exploitation, because sex trafficking is about multiple layer of exploitation. There are 5 to 10 people living on the earnings of this person. So that means this girl or this child or this woman has to sleep with 15 to 20 men a day. Only then the revenue will come, and the revenue has to be divided among these 15 people. Now, she cannot say, today I'm having my periods. Or she cannot say, I'm not interested for this kind of thing. Or today is Pongal, or today is Diwali, I want to have a holiday. She likes it, she does not like it. She has to sleep with that mind. Now, what is the profile of men who come to buy your body? Are these men who want to have an accountable relationship with you? Are these men who want to look at your face next day morning and give you a cup of tea or coffee? No. These are men who have paid an amount to buy your body. So they think that I have bought this body and I can do what I want. Every girl that we have rescued tell us, one day at least, every day they will meet at least one customer, one buyer who puts cigarette on their body, or take a blade and hurt them, or take a belt and beat them, or take a cigar and hurt them, or tie them on the bedpost. All these things I'm telling you, you know many places people ask me if prostitution is legalized, will all these problems end? I can honestly tell you it will only legitimize all that I'm telling you. If you go to Netherlands, if you go to Amsterdam, whatever I'm telling you, you will see that in a very, very scenically sterilized environment where you can get the best of blades, very sterilized blades to cut. You can get the best of cigars, best of cigarettes, best of whips to beat up, but you have to pay higher. Whatever is the rate accordingly. That is what is legalization of prostitution meaning. Okay. So please don't even ask me that question later to say, okay, will legalization end this problem? It will not end the problem. It will double and triple the problem. Now, this is the multiple level of exploitation that a person is going through. Now, do these people get removed from that place of slavery? Hardly. As I'm talking to you, hardly 7% of the victims ever get rescued. That is the reality. Unfortunately, as Dr. Savita said very, very clear, we as a society, we have the habit of victimizing a victim. We all hold PhD degrees, in if a girl gets raped, why did she go in that night? What was she wearing? What was the need for her to talk to that many boys? She must have done something for her getting. And when it's a sex trafficked person, it is multiplied 100 times. We all believe all the children and girls and women who are there in prostitution, they're doing it for very easy money. They got used to easy money. This is such a lucrative business, no work to be done. No, I really want to, implore on each one of y'all. Many of y'all are mental health professionals here. Most of y'all are mental health professionals here. Just apply your theories of empathy and just visualize in your mind, keeping your legs wide open 15 times, 20 times to 15 different kinds of people, each one coming with a new demand, each one coming with a new form of perversion or new kind of fetish. How easy is that? How easy is that to get beaten? How easy is that to be constantly living under fear which police wala will catch you, what all you have to go through? How easy is that? Sex trafficking is very lucrative, no doubt, but not for the victim, but for the people who are running this business. For them, it is very good money. You can buy in India a child for less than 500 rupees. And you can sell that child in sex trafficking for more than 1 lakh rupees. Where is 500 rupees and where is 1 lakh rupees? That is how easy and lucrative money it is for the criminal syndicate. But what does the girl get? What is that she gets easily? She gets a whole lot of health hazards, reproductive tract infection, sexually transmitted infections, cervical damages, traumatic brain injuries, all kinds of health hazards, including HIV, AIDS. Now just imagine that she has to live and sustain her sanity by getting raped every day 15 times. It means that she cannot do it in her sane mind. So she has to constantly keep herself completely intoxicated. She has to drink, she has to take alcohol, she has to take drugs, she eats mud, she eats Benadryl, she takes Iodex, she takes anything that can give her a sense of intoxication. What happens to most victims? Most victims, the day 1 they try to escape, day 2 they try to escape, maybe day 3 also they will try to escape. After 3 days they realize, by this time they have already been raped by 30 men. They realize that there is no going back. And why there is no going back? Because we as a society, you, me, and all of us, we have also created new norms, right? We think the honor of a girl is located in her vagina. So if her vagina has been invaded 30 times, she's done deal, over. She has no way that she can come back to the society. The girl knows that. She feels that. She knows that none of y'all will ever accept her back. She knows that her family will not take her back. She also knows that if she goes to the police or to the court or to the judiciary, she might never get justice. Till few years back, in most part of the country, I'm saying just even 10 years back, most of these girls were treated as criminals and booked under Section 8 of the Immoral Traffic Act and put in the jail. It is just in the last 10 years that they are understood as victims. What happens to these people? After a few days, they give up on escaping. They start settling down in that place of exploitation. They start normalizing that exploitation. And what does normalizing exploitation mean? It means that the traffickers and the criminals who are running this industry have to be then placated. You can't fight with a trafficker and get normalized. You have to make them your bhaiya or your anna or your akka or your didi or your mausi or somebody. So you start developing attachment, start developing relationship with them, you start normalizing an entire environment. After a while, when she is completely normalized, now she will not escape. A 12, 13-year-old girl, after she is normalized, even God will come in front of her and say, come on, run. She will not run because now she is completely settled there. Now, once she is settled there, the traffickers also know there is no need of keeping a gunda there. There is no need of keeping a bouncer there. You can just, so all these, filmy stories of very big gunda standing and watching over a brothel is all bundle. It doesn't happen that way. You don't need to keep any gunda there. You can emotionally manipulate this person just by just by the movement of your eyelid or your eyebrows. You can control this person. You can just leave them open. They will not go anywhere. That is how emotionally and psychologically enslaved they become. When the criminals know this, that is when they become a little more nicer to them. And once they become nicer to them, after a while, a point comes when they say, you have not earned anything. You have not even earned 1 rupee after going through so much. We will give you some money. Please take this money. And first time she sees some money. After she sees some money, then the next thing says is, we are giving you this money now. You can actually earn 100 times more. Why don't you go back to your village and get 2 more girls? Now, this person, maybe at the age of 12, she has gone from Coimbatore and come off to Chennai or Madras, or she has left Hyderabad and gone to Delhi. 6 years later, when she's 18, she's coming back from Delhi or from Chennai to her Coimbatore or to her Hyderabad, fully nice, jing-jang dressed with all nice jewelry and everything. And she says, I've got such a lovely job in Chennai. I've got such a lovely job in Delhi. I'm doing so well. So neighbor says, oh my God, you're doing so well. You're looking so prosperous. Because all of us have also that problem. We go by the looks of a person. We don't really go by the quality and values of a person. We think, what do they have? They have big bangla, they have big things. So that means they might be some great people. Similarly, this girl also has this, her apparent state of normal prosperity fools people. And they say, why didn't you get my daughter also a job like this? And that is how this girl, who was a victim at one point, becomes a perpetrator of that crime. After a few days, few years, if she says, why am I supplying a girl to somebody else? I may as well, set up my own unit. We need to reflect here. Each one of us sitting here in this forum, each one of us need to reflect, have we played a role in making a criminal out of a victim? Our inaction, our complacence, our silence, our stigma, our exclusion has led to a victim choosing the crime as a way of life. At this point, I just want to pause for a minute and I want you all to look at this picture. I urge you to look at this picture at any cost. I say this because it's a very important picture, and this is a picture which I am showing as a tribute to this person's life. This picture was taken just about half an hour before this girl died. She was sold at the age of 13 by her own brother-in-law, and she was sold to a place called as Budhwarpet in Pune, and then later resold to a place called as Bhiwandi in Mumbai. And at the age of 16, we rescued her from Bhiwandi. And when we rescued her from Bhiwandi, um, she already had 11 abortions. She had acute cervical damages. She was suffering from reproductive tract infections. She had traumatic brain injuries, and also she was HIV positive. At the age of 19, she was a full-blown AIDS patient, and she, just before she died, she was in the hospital, and at that time, she requested the doctors, asked them to call me immediately, and I went there. So when I went there, she asked me to take this picture of hers, and I took this picture. I was very intrigued. I was very, very why is she asking me to take this picture? And so I asked her, I said, Beta, why did you ask me to take this picture? Because it's not a photogenic face. And she said, Madam, you give speeches everywhere. You give speeches all over the world. Can you please show my picture to every place that you give a speech? Please tell the world what is the damages of prostitution, what is the damages of girls who are commercially sexually exploited, so that no girl goes through a fate like mine. She is my hero. She is my greatest inspiration. I really don't know any of us sitting here with all the privileges that we have, with all that we hold in our hand, our education, our wealth. When we are going inside our grave, will we have the generosity to say, my life is my message? Will we have the generosity to say, this young woman who has been betrayed by the society, who has been sexually violated a million times over, whom the society did not allow to come back, still had the extraordinary capacity to forgive and become a reason for hundreds and thousands of young girls being prevented from seeing this audio. It is as her tribute that I urge you to reflect on whether each one of us are using our privileges rightly. Are we doing everything in our power to make sure that our life has some real meaning? What is the impact of this journey on any person? Here is a person who has no trust. She has absolutely no sense of identity. Her self-esteem and her self-worth is very, very low. When we talk about identity, our name is our identity. My name is Sunita Krishnan. That's a big part of my identity. Just imagine this person whose name is changed every month. Today you're Lakshmi, tomorrow you are Nagina, tomorrow, day after tomorrow you are Rahel, and then one more day you are, Manisha and something. Every time a police raid happens, your name changes. Alias. Just imagine the fragmented soul that person is. This person, because she has been subjected to this kind of violations, develops what is called as learned helplessness. She believes that she is useless. She believes that she is worthless. She believes that only the orifices in her body has some value. Other than that, she has nothing to offer to this world. She lives in a huge basket of post-traumatic stress disorders. She is addicted. She's an alcoholic. She's a substance abuser. She has all kinds of sexually transmitted infection. But two things stand out in these kind of victims. One, that she could be suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Most victims end up getting attached to the abuser and the trafficker and the criminal. And that becomes one of the biggest, block in any therapeutic process, because the person wants to go back to the same person who has abused or destroyed her. And the second part, which becomes a big stumbling block in any therapeutic process, is the fact that she has normalized the experience of being exploited. She believes getting raped is normal. She believes that getting violated, abused is normal. But living a life without violence is abnormal. You know, that becomes the stumbling block for any mental health intervention. So when we rescue a human being like this, whether it is a child, whether it is a woman, what are we getting in our hand? We are getting a person who's hostile, who's very resistant, who's completely disoriented, is angry with us, is very aggressive, scared of us that, you know, we are going to actually keep this person in some kind of detentive space, and therefore the need to escape from our reality is the highest, combined with withdrawal symptoms. So our own experience is that we require at least a minimum of 1 year to even start making the victim understand that she's a victim, and start the process of therapy in terms of making her open to the understanding that she can gain skills, she can be employable, she can be educated. All this takes a minimum of 1 year. And this is for all the judicial officers and police officers who are in this forum, because sometimes, you know, people in the criminal justice system do not understand these nuances. And the first come, first basis, anybody who comes and stands to the court and says, I'm the father, I'm the mother, you hand over the person to this person, destroying the person further. So whereas our law definitely has all the Immoral Traffic Act is very clear that, you know, you can keep the person for 1 year up till 3 years in a protective home so that she gets all the care and protection. So what are the different challenges under which we work as an organization that is fighting trafficking? So one end, our biggest challenge are the criminals who are, see, we remove 2 people from that criminal fold, they are losing that much of revenue. So they are the first attackers around our place. So our spaces are very custodial in nature because we are going to be attacked from different places. These criminals could be family themselves. So that is a bigger thing, because you know the person standing before is the mother or the father. The judge knows, everybody knows, you know, and the family itself is the trafficker, you know, and that becomes another challenge. Then you have a whole world of legal characters, advocates who are creating. So there are hundreds of kidnap cases against me, against your organization. Every day we have somebody filing a kidnap case against us. But also the fact is, it has becomes very difficult. Like the fact that victims are young and little ones, the accused, the criminals are also very young. And very important that I want to tell you that 70% of the criminals in sex trafficking are female themselves. And it becomes very difficult to differentiate between a victim and an accused in our kind of work. The challenge for also us is to actually train our staff in this kind of a circumstances on what is trauma-informed approach. Definitely the biggest challenge that we have been facing in the last many years is a lack of mental health professionals joining our mission. I am slightly blessed in the last 1 month, 1.5 months, with Nivedita joining us, and also having Dr. Purnima Nagraj on our support system, which has taken some small part of our problem less. But so if you just imagine, you look at this girl, such a young girl, she's just 19 years old. Can you imagine? She's one of the most wanted trafficker in South Asia. She is wanted by the Interpol for trafficking more than 93 girls from Bangladesh to India. You know, how would you differentiate this girl from a victim? This is some of the challenges that we face. What are the limitations under which we work? Not only Prajwala, but Prajwala-like organizations across the country. One, we are working with a whole group of traumatized human beings. So you might work with one child, but you need to understand that this child is going back to a community where there are all traumatized children. So if you suggest or advise something very unique for this child, you must remember there's 100 others who are watching this, and they are ready to pounce to say, oh, she's being given some special status, she's being given some special food, she's being given from special care. Why are we being denied? So our biggest limitation in any mental health intervention is the fact that none of us can deal with one unique being as just one person. We have to connect that unique being with a community of traumatized human beings. So what we do to this person has to come in sync with all others who are there in that whole therapeutic space. Our second biggest limitation, none of these children, young girls, we go and rescue, but we are not the ones who are rescuing. The police is rescuing. We are with the police. Who is giving the custody of this child to us? The court is giving this child custody of this child to us. So we have a custodial responsibility. So if you think that, my God, why are these children being detained in this place? Why can't they be left out? Because that's what the child wants, or the girl wants, or the woman wants, You need to understand the limitation under which we are working. We are under legal responsibility to hold this child in our place. And until a court order does not come to release the person to the society, we cannot do it. Our limitation is also security concerns, both internal and external. Internal, because this person could be suicidal, self-harm behavior. There's enough amount of security concerns inside. She would try to escape. She would try to hurt herself. She can hurt somebody else. But also there is an external security concern because traffickers are constantly, attacking your shelters. They're looking at which loophole from which they can kidnap the person and going on. It's a huge amount of legal implications. Huge amount of legal implications in what we do. And therefore, it is not, we freely deciding, okay, we can do this and get out of it. We also have a limitation of time period. With adults, it might be only up to 3 years, between 1 and 3 years. Or if a judicial officer does not understand the law, the person may be given custody, to a trafficker or to some equally unsafe person within 5 days also. So this person might be there only for 5 days with you, and the person goes back to the same situation. Some very limited period. But with children, we have a longer period. We are stuck till 18 years. But with children and with adults, we also face another limitation. There will be hundreds of children whose family is not conducive for them. The family themselves have sold them. The family themselves is unsafe for them, or the family is not willing to take them back. So there is a restricted scope for social reintegration, especially when the family is unsafe. So what do we try to do in a given situation when mental health professionals like you all who have not joined our mission yet? So what are we trying to do in the absence of full-time mental health professionals joining us? We have tried to make our structures more therapeutic. We have tried to create a process which is more therapeutic, like how we receive the girl, how we keep the girl, how we deal with the girl, how do we, every process, how do we eat food, everything is, designed in a therapeutic process. We create processes for life skills, therapeutic art, performing arts, building the partnership and ownership of the child in managing the shelters and things like that, in livelihood training, in education, also in therapy sessions. I wouldn't say therapy is so effective from what we do because most of our people are MSWs, but not trained, in this kind of very specialized psychiatric intervention. So we have very, very, very unconventional trades that we have selected. We've selected even welding for girls, which is very therapeutic. We have young girls excelling in as welders and carpenters, because that we found as very therapeutic exercise for the girls, both psychologically healing and economically recovering. Similarly, this is fabrication for girls. This is carpentry for girls. All these, restores confidence, dignity, improves the self-worth. We are the first ones in the country to train women as masons, mastries in construction sites. They work in huge construction sites like this with Lanco Constructions and several other people. So we've used several, psychotherapeutic process related activities. Yet, in that process, what we try to do is whether they can see themselves, cherish themselves, and realize the power that they have within themselves and become alive to their own self and to the world outside them. What do I require from each one of you all here? One of the first things that we require is mental health professionals providing consistent engagement in missions like ours. We can't have visiting professors. We can't have chief guests, one day come and go. We can't have people who say, okay, I have my child's exams and, I can't give my time for this kind of thing. I will come after that. We need people, mental health professionals, because you are skilled in your domain of work, but your skills need to be a consistent engagement in the entire therapeutic process. Just one-to-one counseling with a child is not going to help us. Your involvement in our outfits and understanding the legal implication, the psychological implication, the emotional implication, the social implication, and the overall implication, and that kind of engagement is what is going to make your involvement with us more beneficial, because then in that situation you will tell us what is the best way, which is healing and therapeutic. So it means that we require mental health inputs in the management itself of a shelter, not in just individual management of a person who's got psychological aberrations. We need also, our kind of work is one of the most drain out work. Our staff, our caregivers get drained out doing this kind of work day in and out. I'm telling you the stories. I'm sure most of you all feel this in your heart and you're feeling disturbed at this moment listening to what I'm saying. Just imagine listening to it every day, 10 times and 15 times from different individuals. We have close to 200 young children in our shelter home at this moment. This 200 children are 200 stories. Listening to that every day, what is the kind of psychological burnout that we have? We need well-being support for our staff and caregivers. We also require skill building support, because you might give a clinical support, but somebody else can destroy your clinical support. But whatever you have done can be undone by another group of people, by their, their attitude or their perception or by their language. People don't understand what is a judgmental language. People don't understand what is unconditional positive regard. You can just say something and you don't realize, I know where you have come from. I know what you do. That one sentence can destroy all the extraordinary work that you have done in a one-to-one chamber-based counseling setup. So skill building of all our team members for this thing. And also in helping us see what kind of referral mechanism can be useful in this domain. Where is the role of a social worker ending? Where can other professionals take over? As a mental health professional, you are the best equipped person to tell us where it goes. I want to stop here. I'm not giving an end to this presentation of mine, because I believe that ending is not the hope that I have. I'm hoping this conversation that I have started is the beginning of a conversation with a huge group of professionals like you all, for you to understand there is a world out here across the country, in Delhi, in Kolkata, in Chennai, in Kerala, in Maharashtra, everywhere, which requires your intervention, which requires your professional help. A world which is little far away from your hospitals, little far away from your professional clinics. But yes, that world has millions who are subjected to the situation. And I urge you to become part of this mission for the simple reason, if 50% of the humanity is not safe, the world can never be a safe place for anybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Sunita Krishnan.
1 minute, madam. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita. And now I request Mrs. Lakshmi, Judicial Magistrate, to have a few of her ideas before Dr. Savita Madam takes over. Dr. Lakshmi, Mrs. Lakshmi? Mrs. Lakshmi? Sorry.
Madam, in which area you are, ma'am? Kindly raise the hand, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can unmute. Yeah, just a second, ma'am. Now you can unmute.
Yes, Madam Lakshmi.
Madam, you are not audible, ma'am. Kindly check. You are unmuted, but you are not hear your voice. No, ma'am. No.
No, madam. Remove the phone, the earphones, and talk directly.
Am I audible, sir, now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. I will switch off my video, sir, because my network is not that much good. I'll switch off my video and I will speak, sir. Okay.
Okay, madam. Okay.
Good evening, one and all. Joined in this national webinar on understanding victims' evolving responses. It is a great opportunity given to me to participate in this program and also to share my opinion along with the resource person of this day, Padma Shri Sunita Krishnan. Yesterday only, Dr. Ramakrishnan spoke to me and requested to join in this webinar. As the topic is need for the day, I gave my consent immediately. Since I am working as a secretary, senior civil judge, District Legal Services Authority, Erode, and directly handling with the issues of victims, it would be useful to my work. I am happy to share that in our Erode district, from 2017, there are no reported acid victim cases. I also share that I have disposed 126 victim application after due inquiry, and out of this around 69 applications amount also disbursed by the government to the victims. After hearing the session of Sunita ma'am, I am overwhelmed with anguish to share that our criminal justice delivery system yet to cross million miles to reach out to the need of the victims. A very wonderful and eye-opening session, Sunita ma'am. Thank you. Your presentation made me to feel that I am not what happened to me, but I am what I choose to become. Your words made me to realize that law should not sit limply, while those who are defy it go free, and those who seek its protection lose hope. In our system of social justice, a retributive mechanism available to restore the status of accused to lead a normal life, wherein a very lesser attention given to protect the victims. We all know that in a criminal justice delivery system, evidence of victims played a predominant role in punishing the accused, and state authorities have taken a pivotal role to punish the accused, wherein the victims merely made as a spectator during trial with much emotions, abuse, insults, humiliation, criticism, and accusations. All these will slowly eat away the victim's self-esteem. But the society insists them that they should come out of all these things by themselves, expecting them to be courage and brave to face every hurdle. Furthermore, will go on saying that time will heal everything. How is the question before us? Since humiliation or loss of reputation cannot be compensated by way of money, but the monetary compensation to some extent merely will provide solace. I am happy to share that the victimology movement in early 1980s has made a paradigm shift in the approach of criminal system in India, that too in favor of victims, that too of crimes of various offences. The Honorable Apex Court and various high courts in many cases repeatedly recognized the claim of compensation to the victims by invoking Article 21 of our Constitution. The right to compensation has also been integrated as an integral part of the right to life and liberty under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Gradually, insisted by our Apex Court, each state have framed separate schemes of their own and maintaining separate victim fund to help the victims of various crimes. The scheme made way for an institutionalized payment of compensation to the victim by the state for any loss or injury caused to him by the offender. The responsibility has been imposed on the state to create and maintain a fund for specific purpose. In cases where compensation paid by the accused is inadequate or no such compensation is payable on account of acquittal or discharge, even when the offender is not being traced or identified, victim compensation scheme is applicable to help the victim. Such payment may also be allowed on the specific recommendations of the court in addition to the compensation payable under any other scheme or sections. The District Legal Services Authority or the State Legal Services Authorities have been authorized to decide the amount of compensation to be awarded to the victims under these schemes, subject to the maximum limit as prescribed in the schedule of those schemes. In addition to the payment of compensation, Section 357A also attempted to respond to the immediate needs of the victim for state or medical benefit as well as any other interim relief as may be required. I just share my things which how the DLSAs are working and all, that generally if any victim is affected or if there is any person found to be a victim of an offense, there are two schemes are followed in our Tamil Nadu. There are two schemes. Scheme 2013, it is generally applicable to all the victims, and the scheme 2018 specially meant for women victim. Once an application is received, immediately the nature of that application will be construed. It will be how it will be looked into.
Madam,
Hello?
kindly make it short.
Sir, is there any disturbance, sir?
Kindly make it short.
I have to make it short, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. I skip the role of DLSA and all. Just I want to share that I positively believe that there are enough mechanisms available under law to help the victims. But the procedures in deciding the quantum and the delay in disbursement of amount or on failure to deposit the amount, the next step to be taken are complicated and are time consuming. They have to be simplified to reach out to the hands of the victim. There are lack of awareness existing among the lower state of victims. I would like to insist that wherever there is a court, there exists a free legal aid centers to help the victims at their doorsteps. The free legal assistance available have to be utilized at most. Further, as a social responsible person, we can make various awareness program on various media to create awareness to help the victims. And it is our duty to make the victims to Feel positively that all life is not perfect. When you get a knock, you have to get up, dust yourself, and get on with it immediately. With this, I conclude. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramakrishnan. He gave me this opportunity. Sunita ma'am, you are extraordinary. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Savita Malhotra.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you, Ma'am Lakshmi. I think this was a perspective from a judicial officer's point of view. Although our laws, there's a great deal of legal support and legal structure and framework which is already put in place and is available. But the sad part is that implementation and its usage and its benefits in real life to the victims is really far from being satisfactory, and a lot still needs to be done. And I must congratulate Ms. Sunita Krishnan for a very thought-provoking, heart-wrenching, and enlightening presentation. Actually, this came from the heart and touching every heart of every listener. And all of us, of course, although we know about the mental health consequences, trauma, and so on, but the impact and the expense of the problem, the various dimensions that are there to the whole issue of trafficking and sex abuse is something that Sunita Krishnan has really brought out very beautifully. The problems in the psychological, all of us, most of us, mental health professional, that starting from it goes in several stages. Is that of a shock and anger, resistance, and then despair, and finally, eventually acceptance. Somehow human beings, there is a need and desire to reach to some static state of homeostasis, state of being, and that's what happens even in this most unfortunate and painful circumstance also. I would like to thank Sunita Krishnan for a very thought-provoking and evocative presentation.
Excuse me, madam.
I would like to now bring in, present Mr. Sunita that we have received.
Savita, madam. Madam, your network band is slow. Kindly switch off your video, madam.
The listeners, and maybe your those. Yes, please.
Madam, your band is
okay. My network is
very slow. Kindly switch off your video and talk, madam.
Okay.
Now it is possible. Now it is okay. You talk, madam. She got disconnected. She should come back again. Till then, any opinion, any questions to Sunita from public?
Yes, sir. There is one question. Can I read out that?
Yeah.
John Joseph has asked that, like, asked whether she's having any history of anything to talk about the little boys who was sexually abused and trafficked, and is there any experience with that? Is there any any update on national level of data or anything like that regarding the little boys?
Sexual exploitation and sex trafficking of boys in compared to girls is far less, but it is there. it is not that it does not exist. It exists in a big way. Unfortunately, there's hardly very few organizations who have actually worked on sex trafficking of boys and sexual exploitation of boys. The few organizations they have worked on child labor and child sexual abuse have dealt with male child sexual abuse also. But we, as of today, do not have a national data in terms of how many boys and uh, you know what is the quantum of numbers that we are looking at. But I can definitely tell you that young boys have been sexually commercially sexually exploited and sex trafficked in sex tourism largely. In fact, one of the first massive scandals that happened in the country was in Goa, with a person called as Freddie Peets, who is an Australian missionary who was running a home in orphanage in Goa with little boys as young as 4 and 5 years old who were being supplied for tourists. In fact, Freddie Peets is the first known convicted case of pedophile and sex trafficker to be convicted in India, and that too a foreigner. But unfortunately, there has not been any, scientific effort by anybody in the country to uh, give a give a clear picture in terms of numbers and what is the trend. I have personally witnessed several boys being sexually exploited, but very sorry to say that I haven't worked on it at all, because it's not an excuse, but the rescues that we do itself, between 25 to 30 girls every month, that itself takes so much of our life, work time, and ill-equipped to deal with male children. I do hope when people are listening to this kind of a discussion and conferences, somebody will be motivated among this group of over 150 people who are listening to this, to also start taking a decision that maybe some one of us have to start working for male children who are sexually exploited, and not just sexually exploited, commercially sexually exploited. As of now, there are hardly any organization.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
One Mr. Bhuvaneshwari has raised her hands.
Yes.
Bhuvaneshwari.
Good evening to all. Good evening to all. I thank Mr. Dr. Ramakrishnan for giving me this opportunity. And it's not an eye opener, not only to medical or this professionals, mental health professionals, but also to the passive and silent spectators. And my husband will continue. He is a judicial officer. He will continue.
I am Krishnamurthy.
Is it audible?
Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
It's audible. I am Krishnamurthy. I served in judiciary for more than 26 years. I am presently serving as a Lokayuta judge, anti-corruption body. Because as a youngest man in advocate profession, and also as a judicial officer, or recruit to judicial judge at 32, I've been seeing this sort of trauma. Why women are being trafficked? The point is, there is no understanding about women by our society. They are always exposed as a very glamorous, the colors and other things. That's why the very body itself is become vulnerable to many people. I can attribute a sort of accusation to movies, actors, and other people who want to, instead of taking the moral and ethics to people, they are diverting the people, young ones, to some other destination from where they cannot rescue themselves. Because my desire or a project will be, when Swachh Bharat was introduced by the present government, about 30 lakhs of the toilets were constructed all over India. 30 lakhs. It became their social project. So long it is the project of the elite people and the government, it cannot get the familiarity or popularity. What I mean to say is, it has become a social program. We have to start from a elementary school, high school, and other places where women are there. They are vulnerable to many situations. In offices, senior person is misusing his position as a senior person, MD, CEO, and other people. So I must say that the women are also responsible for this one because they don't reveal it out. The way in which they are being trafficked or humanized by the men, once is trafficked for not for business only. There's some other situations also. There is a act, there is no Sharika, some other act. Even law is not able to prevent all these things. The nexus between master and the servant, employer and employee, set of situations promote as a sort of uneasy things in society. But where to start with? Recently, we came across a news by newspapers. They got a very wide publicity that a single person was able to the same company.
Sir, make it short, sir. Sir, make it short. Make it precise.
This kind of social responsibility is not a matter of subject. It's the elite community. We can go to the grassroots, the people, areas, and the college where we can explain the things that just about. There should usually explain between infatuation and love. It all starts with infatuation, it ends with love, and the love it becomes exploitation of women. I see many young girls, 13 or 14 years. Firstly, they are lured by the criminals by giving
Kindly
food.
make it precise, sir. Sir, kindly make it precise.
Also, that's why it became a program or a project of society. That's why we have to start with school, right from schools, colleges, and other places. So that we can freely discuss about the trauma that people, young women are undergoing. Thank you.
Smita, what I will do is I will quickly answer the questions as I see it quickly, so that we don't, in the interest of time. So somebody is asking whether there is sex trafficking that happens in Manipur and whether there is organization. But yes, sex trafficking happens across the country. Manipur also, large number of Manipuri girls are trafficked to Bangalore, to Chennai, to Mumbai, to Delhi, and it also inside Hyderabad is also one major destination for Manipur. There are very good organizations working in Manipur. Impulse NGO Network is one organization which is closer to Manipur, which is in Meghalaya, working very strongly in that zone. Another person is asking me a question about an information in Malaysia. Malaysia is a very big destination for sex trafficking. A large number of girls from Sri Lanka, India are trafficked to Malaysia. I can't give you open information on this kind of a platform. I will just leave my email ID so that you can ask specific questions there. But please understand that I may not be able to answer several questions which might, compromise our own security. But I would be happy to give you whatever is possible. Organizations like ours have grassroots presence. Somebody is asking, how can the poor get directly connected with organizations like that? We have a lot of community engagement. We work with through the Anganwadi workers, through the Asha workers in the grassroots community. So many of us are connected to the community that way. Somebody is asking about public administration. Can this be made part of the curriculum? Yes, I do believe education, not literacy, is the answer. And, bringing it in the educational curriculum is the need of the hour, especially when we are talking about cyber trafficking, because cyber trafficking is affecting a whole lot of literate children who could be coming from middle-class families. Street children in sex trafficking, huge number of street children are exploited in sex trafficking and sex crimes. The streets are one of the most unsafe zones for girl children. I'm trying to see as many questions as possible.
There is one specific question, the procedure of joining Prajwala by Bhavani Suresh.
We have our own permutations and combinations with which we take people. You have to be suitable for our kind of a work. We are dealing with a crime. If I have to give you one small, simple example, I have been attacked. My life has been attacked more than 17 times. There has been attacks on my life. That is the day-to-day package that we live with. So there has to be a mental preparedness, a physical preparedness, an emotional preparedness to be engaged with an organization like ours. Most importantly, you need to have the consistency. That is all that I would say. If this is like a hobby to say hello Prajwala, we want to join, it doesn't work. It requires a lot of commitment, and I'm happy to say that I have seen such individuals who have those kind of commitment, who take out their time, even on a Sunday, when they have the little time that they have with their family, they take that out for us. There are people like that, but that is a choice that you have to make. So more than anything else, your preparedness to deal with situations like this is what is going to be useful for organizations like Prajwala or any other organization like Prajwala working anywhere in the country.
Dr. Ramya Sambat was asking about the pharmacotherapy. And what is the, how much is the duration of healing that you have observed?
A minimum kind of outcomes and prognosis that we see in any individual takes a minimum of 1 year to 1.5 years. And it is a very lengthy process, but the relapse rate is also very, very high, especially among children. A child who has apparently, recovered has a relapse when she's a teenager. A child who has been, say, rescued at the age of 6 has undergone all therapy and everything for 2 years, and she seems to be recovered. And at the age of 14, she has a massive relapse and goes back to the same situation. So relapse among children is very, very high. The efficacy, I would say, as of now, to give an empirical answer, I'm not equipped, for the simple reason that we haven't really quantified or really studied the efficacy of this. But our own efforts, without using a very clinical approach, has had some amount of distinct results, which is being quantified. I don't know whether that answers that question. I would now, really reflect on what your question is more when I go back tonight and see whether we can quantify some answers and give you later.
Dr. Subhangi Parker, madam.
She has asked about the percentage of street children are exploited.
I answered that.
Yes, okay. And Dr. S. Gayatri was asking, as public administration, can this also be made a part of curriculum?
I have answered that also, Smita.
Okay.
In one shot, I was answering from down to top.
I was going through that.
I request Dr. Subhangi Parker to. Dr. Subhangi Parker. She is a women activist from West, one of the senior most psychiatrists.
She has asked some questions.
I was seeing her. Okay. Anyone asking?
Savita ma'am is back. She's logged in again.
Yes, madam. Madam, you can take over, madam.
So was I disconnect and missed the part of discussion.
Again, she is disconnected.
Okay. Veena Kapoor. Veena Kapoor. Okay. Thank you, madam. And I request you to guide us, IPS the psychiatrist how to go about in the future about our mental health service to these people. You give us a framework about how to approach it. Okay, you are better experience and you are living with these people. You can better give us the scope of our service, what we can do. We can involve group of women psychiatrists as well as people. And we will do it, madam. And it is, and I want to, I again request whether is there any branches of Prajwala in other part of the country. That's another one thing. And you told that majority of your people are from Hyderabad areas. I think it is itself is a big volume. I suppose that there should be some other branches or allied NGOs should be available throughout India to make your work and easier and reach more people. That is one thing, and we have to have a network of NGOs working on this. That's I know you pretty well that you are all active in about all these things. You know about all these things. It is my view that we should have a network about with a psychiatrist join, and we can suppose psychiatrists from Tamil Nadu, psychiatrists from Andhra, psychiatrists from other states can join, and maybe media where we can work together with the regional languages will be better. That's what my sincere request. And I sincerely feel that capital punishment should be the one that for especially for pedophilics. Otherwise, people will not change. See, ultimately, that is one thing I can think of, only capital punishment. Then only people get fear. Otherwise, they don't get fear. After by political means or some other means, they come out. See, that's how things are going on, and the offenders are repeat offenders. And incest and other things, I have seen many people at the age of 25 or 30 come with depression to us. When we explore the past, they give history of sexual abuse among step brothers, step cousins. All this in sexual trauma is actually hidden even from parents. That is what I have seen. Even parents don't know. When we say that she has been abused in the past and all, people refuse to accept. He will not do that. He will not do it like that. See, that sort of things are there. And I hope society has to change. That is ultimately. And we have to support whoever are the victims unconditionally. That is unconditional support is the one that is required. As you told no about telling about the past. See, that type of critical command should not be there. And unconditional support and unconditional love to them is the most important one. That Savita Malhotra, madam, you can take over.
Yes, sir, my misfortune today, but nevertheless, I will make one quick comment here, taking from what you suggest as the societal action. So my thinking is that we must change, bring in a change in the society, and must change the mindset of men and boys. I think this battle cannot be fought just by women alone. We need to have men and boys alongside with this, and who are equally sensitive and understanding, and who are willing to take on the whole issue and problem. And other thing is that somewhere in our socialization process in bringing up of our children in early age, young age, the boys need to be made more sensitive towards the female gender and respect for women, and the idea of equality, justice, and respect for women is to be inculcated in them right from early childhood. Somewhere in our society, I think women are to blame because mothers, they try to raise boys differently from girls. Girls are all the time kind of raised like the ones who have to tolerate, who have to adjust, who must make sacrifice, who must not speak up, who must not do anything, and then remain in the closed boundaries of the household and the four walls and things. Whereas boys are given free hand to do everything, and boys, they even if they do something wrong, they are neither stopped nor kind of advised or advocated to look at women in a different way, and they grow up as entitled. They grow up as it's accepted in the society that they think that they have a right over the body of the woman, and they can be harsh or they can be cruel. And what we have heard these phrases like men will be men, boys will be boys, and they do these things, and they can rape, and they may rape, and it's women who have to take care of themselves. I think that is where the primarily the societal action must and needs to take place, and all of us have a responsibility there. And apart from that, of course, at the individual victim level, there is some music at the victim. So the intervention is to be at the victim level, at the society level, and at the law. I think we heard about the law. As I said, that the law is there may be enough laws, but the laws implementation and usage and availability and access and delivery of justice, timely delivery, all that is absolutely failing in its responsibility. And we are, I mean, even though these cases are not brought to kind of the charge sheet is not framed, first of all, these are not reported. Even if they are reported, they are not acknowledged. The charge sheet is not filed. And then the conviction rate is so very low. And our criminal procedures are very, very archaic, and we need to kind of make changes there. So the law needs to change, society needs to change, and we need to have the kind of intervention for the individual victim. And that is where the mental health professionals' role is there. And certainly, I think the presentation has exhorted all the mental health professionals listening to this presentation to actually do their bit to engage, to involve. And this is something, as Sunita says, it's not something that we can do for accolades, we can do for photo op, for opportunity to have something like, to get some kind of a social recognition. This is a very serious commitment, and it actually draws upon your emotions. And it's not an easy thing to do, and we must kind of think about it and make a really serious commitment. And that is the service to humanity and society. Absolutely. This is what I have to say. And I would like to thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Ramakrishnan. Again, I must apologize for the kind of these unstable internet disturbing the kind of proceedings for me. Thank you very much.
Over to Samanvi.
Any last?
Over to Samanvi. And I request all people who are assembled here, who are in line, to give your feedback and also comment whether you are committing to work in this area. That is my request. We will assemble people of like-minded people. In the beginning, we will do that, madam.
Dr. Ramakrishna, I would like to say that I will prepare a database of all similar organizations across the country and send you the database so that wherever our, IMA membership is there, IPS membership is there, and Samanvi membership is there, if they can get connected to the local organizations and support the local organization.
Yes, yes.
But please understand that any social change is a mutual responsibility, and it'll be just saying this because I'm doing this for the last 30 years. So sometimes some small things, if I don't mention, it doesn't make sense. Is that when you are offering your services, you need to also take that 2 steps forward. The organization will take one step forward, but many times they may not be able to take so many steps because of the entire 100 janjats that they are inside in. So you're becoming a little more proactive. If you're expecting them to keep coming behind you, it may not work.
Yes,
you offering them
voluntary work. It is a voluntary work.
Yeah. Now, even if you charge whatever it is, be a little more proactive, because organizations who are doing this kind of work, by and large, very few. And one of the biggest pain that I have in my life, and I filed a public interest litigation in High Court because of that pain, is that Prajwala has become the universal dumping ground. Police rescues any girl, they dump in Prajwala because there is no other home. in Prajwala, in Telangana. So every day they don't even ask whether we have the money to feed the person. They just come and say, okay, you have to take. It's a court order.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what I'm trying to say is the organizations down there must be terribly challenged because of the choices they have made. So your proactiveness will give them the strength of support. And I don't want to give example, but I am compelled to give the example of Nivedita, from your own group, because she's somebody who's there already. For me, it is such a peace of mind to know that my people can call her anytime. And she picks up the call and she ensures that she gives her time immediately and ensures that she takes care of it. That kind of proactiveness, if you give, extremely grateful if you do that for us, because we need you, but we are also challenged because of the choices of the mission that we have taken up. But I'm so grateful to Dr. Savita for mentioning about men and boys. I think the real answer lies there. We have to work with men and boys, changing their attitudes, perceptions, perspective, small things like, if porn consumption is reduced, sexual exploitation of girls in brothels will be reduced. Porn industry becomes a trigger factor for hundreds of young men to go and buy sex. So even a session to young boys on why they should not use porn, why they should not consume porn, could be one great support for this thing. So not everybody is equipped to work with victims, but everybody is equipped to work on prevention. So if you can't directly work with victims, at least find a way to work on prevention by talking about these issues to 100 more people. If both of that is not possible, you can't work on prevention, you can't work on protection, at least you will have some little money to spare. Donate to organizations across the country like us, not only Prajwala, but all the organizations like us. Give them ₹1 a day. That will, be ₹1 less that they have to go around begging for. So please, my humble request to each one of you all is, please don't think about the 100 ways that you cannot do it. Think of that one way that you can do it. And that doing is what is going to change the world. Each one of us have to be the change that we want to see in the world.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. We will do it. Samanvi?
So shall we wind up the session, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Thank you, one and all present here. It's everyone is agreed that it's a very inspirational, motivational, emotionally moving speech we have ever heard, I mean to say. And it's the perspective it has opened in our mind. Everyone would agree. Thank you, Sunita madam, for the wonderful speech and wonderful mind-opening session. Actually, everyone would have opened their mind and heart, I mean to say. So everyone definitely will take one step ahead, I guarantee you. And Samanvi will be definitely traveling with you in different ways. And thank you, Savita Malhotra ma'am, for the broad perspective you have put in different society angle and in the home attitude change and how we can make different things. Thank you very much for your wonderful time and present here. And thank you very much for our president. He is the man behind all of the programs. Sir is very dynamic. I am proud to say I am trained under Ramakrishnan sir, and we are always in touch with him and inspirational person. And also thank you very much for President-elect our Ramanan sir. He was there throughout the session, and our dynamic secretary sir, Dr. Suresh Kumar, and our treasurer Gangaram sir, Sagulamin sir, and our Vishal Inla sir, all the South Zone EC members and South Zone members. And also I thank all the senior members, Dr. Veena Kapoor, Dr. Abhay Matkar, and Dr. N.N. Raju, and Dr. Lakshmi Anand, special guest for our session for the judicial input, and Dr. Kisan and Dr. Panneerselvam sir, and also other branch of doctors also have joined in from IMA. Our past president, Dr. Karuna, was there throughout the program, and all our mentors, seniors, colleagues, and friends from various sectors. I think social workers, psychology, different perspective. So many of people have joined. I think it has broadened the scope for us. And as you mentioned, there is a hope. From that, the 7.5% victim rescuing, we can definitely increase it more, I think. And I also thank Atma technical team for the support and ICON. And thank you very much, one and all, for presenting here and for the active participation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.